Hello, welcome back. You may have just seen this video come up and like you might have seen this video title and then looked at the channel name and be like, wait, this is called Chicken Talks Books. Why supposedly a channel about books making a video about music? Christian music. So, is to address that. So yes, my channel is mainly focused on books, but I knew from time that I didn't want to only focus on books. I wanted to do, eventually named my app to Chicken Talks Books, just I guess so it'd be easier to find. And but yeah, I don't want to only talk about books. Um so yeah, I'm thinking like maybe every once in a while I'll make a non-book related video. So this will be one of them. And I wanted to do this video because I think a few weeks ago I put out my Christian Pop Girly playlist. And if you've looked at that playlist, you might notice I put a little disclaimer on it. And so that won't be, you won't have to think about that until a bit later in the video. But yeah, I wanted to kind of talk about, so I guess like since like summer, or maybe even into spring, I've kind of been unintentionally on this journey of like discovering Christian music that sounds good. And I wanted to kind of talk about kind of the highlights along the journey and stuff like that. And then of course talking about like some of the concerns. And yeah, I don't know. Let's just get into it. So my first taste into finding Christian music that sounds really good, and not to say that the music I was listening to before was bad. In fact, we might talk about some of those artists a bit later. But the first taste into kind of music that sounds like on par with secular music was Christian R&B. I had found a Christian R&B playlist, and it was one of those playlists that's like just a video. And so I was watching that, and then I was listening to other playlists, like, and I found some songs that I liked. So some of the songs I found that I liked from the Christian R&B: "Trade It All" by Jordan May, "Higher" by Madison Ryan Ward, "More of You" by CJ, and "Vibe" by Noel Mio. I'm not sure how that's pronounced. And of course there's others that I've heard. So yeah, I've first heard those songs, and then I came across Josiah Mariel's videos. Now I think around the time that I found this video, I think it had to have been around the time that she first started her series of like Christian artists to replace secular musicians. So yeah, this was just the first video that I came across, and I was like, okay, what are some of the artists that are claiming could replace these artists? And the first one in the video, and the first video that I remember was kind of saying that Katie Nicole is a substitute for Olivia Rodrigo. And when I saw that, I was like, be so for real. Because really, all I knew of Katie Nicole's music before that was "In Jesus' Name" and "God Is in This Story," which I think most people would describe those songs as boring Christian music. So that was all I knew. But then I still kept listening, and so she played some songs, and I was like, okay, I guess this does kind of sound like Olivia Rodrigo. So then I went to go listen to those songs. The first song I listened to was "Honest Conversation," and to be honest, it still kind of sounded like boring Christian music to me. So yeah, there's that. So I was like, I don't know about this. But then I listened to the other song that like piqued my interest, which was "Thorns," and and I was like, okay, well this kind of does sound more like Christian Olivia Rodrigo. But after the research I've come to, I have concluded that Katie Nicole is not the Christian Olivia Rodrigo. That honor, I would say, goes to Allison Aid. Um, so yeah, I didn't find out this. We're going on a bit of a tangent because, well, I only heard about Allison Aid through actually the comments of one of Josiah's videos. And so I heard like someone was claiming that she was Christian Olivia Rodrigo, and they mentioned to go listen to her song "Liar, Truth Is," and so I did, and oh yes, "Thorns" does not sound a chance yeah, I messed up my word. It doesn't stand a chance against Liar. Because it's very much Olivia Rodrigo sounding, and and the lyrics of it kind of reminded me of Dismissed by Zoe Girl. I would say Liar Truth is dismissed for a new generation, and it's probably both encapsulates the sounds of that generation. So yeah, and I haven't listened to too many of her songs. And some I think one of the ones I was listening to later was Still Afraid. That one sounds less Olivia Rodrigo to me. And then the other song that I listened to that included in the playlist, IDK. That one sounding more Olivia Rodrigo, although someone else pointed in the comments, it also sounded a little bit Billie Eilish. So there's that. So like I was a little not sure about. Well, I was kind of convinced by Katie Nicole, but then I kept watching the video and I've watched a lot of the series, and I found that a lot of these artists that she was comparing to secular musicians were actually a lot of them I had never heard of before. So it's like, okay, yeah, I guess. But then when she came into mentioning again artists that I had heard of before, it like got me started thinking this thing of, okay, was the secular artist really that good if they can be compared to this Christian musician? Now, you gotta mention names. Like, was Bruno Mars really that good if he can be compared to Torrin Wells? Or, and I was like, okay, well, maybe that one I can accept, but then, oh, can Taylor Swift from Fearless to Lover Area, was she really that good if she can be compared to Love and the Outcome? Not to say that Torn Wells and Love and the Outcome are bad, but it's just I hear them on Christian radio, and so they've kind of they're not associated with good Christian music. I'll just say that. I hope I haven't scared Josiah off. Stick around, Josiah, if you're watching this, because there's some parts later in the video where you might want to consider some things before platforming certain artists. Okay? So I wanted so before why why is it so hard to talk today? Okay, so now I'm gonna talk about some of the highlights from Christian Girly Pop series videos. Yeah, sure. The good artists that I've found out of it. So the first one to talk about is Claire Leslie, which means I've heard a lot of people talk about, they compare her to Sabrina Carpenter. I don't know if I see that. I agree with more Josiah's assessment that she sounds more like Tate McRae. And the interesting about that is like Tate McRae, I never really listened to her music. Like I would hear it on social media and I wouldn't mind it, but it wouldn't be something I would go out of my way to listen. But I do like um Claire Leslie. I think the two songs, the first song that I really liked from Claire Leslie was Passenger Seat. Um it was kind of fun and summery. But then the one that I've come to appreciate more is 20 something. Um Talking about how us in their 20s, we're learning, figuring out life on our own. But we still make some mistakes and like all these things, although I'm I'm not really on my own yet, so that part's not that, but yeah. And then another artist that I really appreciate, and I believe she was mentioned in the comments first, but I didn't check her out until just I made put her in a video. That'd be Sarah Natalie, who's been compared to Ariana Grande, and yes, it sounds, yeah, very much so. I remember once because like I was at my summer job and I was listening to, and this is like a Christian place that I was working at, and I was listening to some of my Christian music, and there were like Sarah Natalie songs playing, and my supervisor came in while I was listening to a Sarah Natalie song, and I remember kind of thinking afterwards, I hope my boss didn't think I was listening to Ariana Grande. So that's very much, and even I was thinking of, because I've been thinking of what to say in this video for a long time, and I was thinking even back then, like, and going into some of her music, it's almost like Sarah Natalie is trying to sound like Ariana Grande, which don't get me wrong, she's doing it. It's working, but so yeah, that is. But I don't want to say that she's trying to like demean her. Like she is good. Um, I included 4 songs in the Christian Pop Girly playlist, and I like all 4 of them. So those ones are Famous, Heavenly Hug, Trees, and 838. And so yeah, uh, those are good Sarah Natalie songs. Oh, another one that wasn't in the playlist, but I didn't. It was one of the first ones I listened to. Why am I struggling to talk? One of the first ones I listened to was Seriously, and at first I was kind of like, I don't really see how this is Ariana Grande, but I think I've learned to appreciate it some. And then this next one, this was actually, so the video where she mentioned Sarah Natalie came out after the video that she talked about Claire Leslie and Cutie Nicole, and this next artist which is Melody Lynn. She's comparing her to Madison Beer, which again I didn't really listen to Madison Beer, so I don't really know that much. And the songs that she featured in her video are not songs that you can find on Melody's channel. So, because I think they're primarily from other artists. But and the 2 songs that I like from Melody, were not shown. But and I think these are the ones that I listen to because she really kind of shows off vocally. That'd be Broke My Own Heart and Solitary Space, both of which are in the playlist. And then lastly, I'll talk about, this is more recent in the Christian pop girly series. Well, this is actually the first of the indie pop girlies. That'd be Sarah Reeves, who Josiah compared her to Melanie Martinez, which I'm not familiar with Melanie Martinez's music at all, so I don't really know about that. I would compare her more to Ellie Goulding. So yeah, and again, quite a few of her songs in the playlist. My favorite ones are Something About You. What are this one, well, another one I'm thinking of is not really explicitly Christian, Back in Time. And then there's another one that I'll talk about later when I talk about like song lyrics that I like. So yeah, I need to stop filming this to try to collect myself. This next little short section that I wanted to do is song artists I found from the comments section of these videos. And the 2 ones that I could think of, there might be more. The 2 ones that I could think of was first Sunday. So this is a little different that this is a guy. And I don't know what genre you would call it. I mean, when I've played his music, some people have said it's hip hop, but I don't know. Maybe some of it leans more R&B, so maybe somewhere R&B, hip hop, maybe another genre. I don't really know, but I don't know what else to say. My favorites songs. I mean, I haven't listened to too much of his discography, but the 3 songs that I liked are "Love Is Kind," "Sunrise," and "Elohim." So those ones are good. And then another artist from the comment section that I found was Claudia Isaki. And here's the thing, she was kind of talked about in the comments as like a jazz artist, but listening to her music, I don't know if I would classify it as jazz. I mean, bossa nova, maybe? But I don't really know. And if we're talking about like comparing her to a secular artist, her voice to me, sounded like Corinne Bailey Rae, the girl who's known for singing Put Your Records On. So yeah, I don't really know what else to say, but I guess the reason why people wouldn't compare it to her is that I guess the music styles aren't the same. And the songs I've liked from Claudia are La La Love, Future is Bright, and Even When It's Gray, the acoustic version. So yeah. Okay, and then now I'm just going to talk about like I guess like miscellaneous places I found these artists, because one was from Josiah's like database, and then the other two I don't know how I found them. So the first one mentioned from again Josiah's database is Stacy Orico. She was like a Christian pop singer in like the early 2000s. So yeah, when I was finding her music, I was finding all these comments of people who were like nostalgic from her time. Yeah, and I guess if we're comparing her music kind of sounds like a combination between Britney Spears and Christina Aguilera, which I quite liked that combination. The three songs, wait, are there? Yeah, three songs that I liked from Stacy are "There's Gotta Be More to Life," "Don't Look at Me," and "Dear Friend." Those are the ones. And then the other artist, now this artist, I guess I would say I'm more like kind of grew up with, but it's like really good. Why aren't they talked about more? That would be the band Down Here. Yeah, come on, guys, we got it's a good band. So yeah, there's this band, and for me, here's a funny story. So there's kind of two main singers in Down Here. One of them is Mark Martell, and so I kind of it's been kind of talked about that his voice sounds like Freddie Mercury, and so but of course I didn't really grow up listening to like Queen or anything. But I did grow up listening to Down Here, so I didn't think much of Mark's voice at the time. But then when I was like 14, so my cousins moved back, and he introduced us to kind of more of the songs of like the 70s and 80s. So he introduced us to Queen. And then after listening to Queen for a bit, it was like around Christmas time, and they were playing Christmas songs on the radio. And then I hear this voice, and I'm like, "What is Freddie Mercury doing on a Christian radio station?" And then come to find out, that was Mark Martell. And then, yeah, this whole thing. So yeah, although I guess the reason why Down Here isn't talked about as much anymore is because the band kind of disbanded. I forget when their last album, Altar of Love, was their last album. After that album, they kind of disbanded to go focus on their families, and stuff. And so my mom's been kind of like, "Well, I hope they get back together." And well, I do kind of want them to make more music. I don't know how I feel about them being a part of this current Christian music landscape. Well, we'll get to that later. And then another artist, I think this guy I've heard of just on like Christian playlists, and that would be Jonathan Ogden. And he was, I believe, he was originally part of this. No, his stuff he's based in the UK, and I believe he's originally I don't know which one came first, but he was a part of this band called Rivers and Robots. I do like one song from them as well, but then he's also had a solo career, which is what I'm more familiar with. I don't even know where to start when talking about favorite songs. One thing I've liked and kind of really explored more this year is his seasons project. So he has these like EPs based on like the different seasons. So there's winter, spring, summer, and fall. And so yeah, and I found a few songs and added them to my seasonal playlists. Um, so yeah, I guess I'll just say a favorite from each season. So for winter, that was kind of what I heard first, and actually, on his winter EP, there is a song called "All My Love," and that was, and I do like that song, but the version that's on the EP, and the only thing that you can buy is kind of like an acapella in a different key. The version I like, as I believe only on YouTube. Um, so yeah, that's the version I like. But another song I like from the winter EP is "Friend." That's a good one, and then for spring, I think the only one I like from spring is Waterfall. Or is it Waterfall or Waterfalls? I can't remember. And then for summer, I think there's two I like from the summer EP, and it'd be Perfect, and then the one I've come to love more, Everything I Want, and then Autumn or Fall. I think it's called Autumn actually. I haven't listened to that one as much. I think, oh, was it Psalm 27? The one that I liked? Anyways, and then there's another song that's not from the Seasons EP that I like, and that is called Slow Down. And the music video has these like dancers, so it's fun. So one thing that I guess what I've thought with like music in general since like high school and looking for music is I've always wanted to find relatability in my music. And I think that's probably started even before, like maybe even in middle school. And I guess that was part of the reason why I even started listening on my own to secular music, was because the Christian music didn't seem to always have that relatability. So, but there have been some songs I found over the years that, and not all these are like relatability, but there's um, this touches on important issues and stuff. So the first one, Something Heavenly by Down Here, that's talking about I'm so far from what I want to be, please turn me into something heavenly. That's kind of the gist of the song. And then Someone to Talk To by 10th Avenue North, kind of talking about like, oh, I have all these issues that I want to talk about in church, but I can't say anything about it. I just need someone to talk to. That's kind of the gist. And another one, this one, it's really hard. Hope or Nostalgia by Chris Renzema. Yeah, kind of like I feel like I'm just going in circles. Yeah, and then this one's really obscure. Haunting by Rob Jones. And this one, I mean, when I first heard it, I wasn't even sure if it was a Christian song, but it's kind of like the way what I got from it is this person's like they're kind of in a bad way doing things they're not proud of, and God, they've kind of turned their back on God, although not really because they can't get away from God, and I don't want to be free from God haunting me. That seems to be what again because of how obscure the song is. I want you all, when you're done this video, go look up that song, Haunting, Rob Jones. I'll put the cover up here so you know which song to click on. Go. I actually first heard about this song on Instagram. I don't know if I'll play an Instagram clip of it or not. And then another song. This was a while ago, but it seems to be interesting. But I guess I kind of related to it. Broken Together by Casting Crowns. This seems to be talking about someone whose their marriage is not in good shape. Um, so yeah, but I could still relate to some parts of it of like um I don't know, it's hard to explain. And this last one from Sarah Reeves. Again, this one I think it was from an era when she was not explicitly Christian. It's called Jealousy, though not the kind of jealousy that you're thinking of. It's I've been dealing with jealousy of the girl that I used to be. I've definitely felt that. I think not so much now because I tend to look back on my past self as being cringe, but I think like especially in high school, I was thinking of like who I knew that I used to be, and I was like, I'm sad that I'm not that anymore. So, yeah. So one thing I kind of briefly wanted to talk about is that there seems to be like some resistance to like good Christian music. It seems from or like some Christian music genres. So first thing, so I talked about in the beginning that R&B playlist. There was a comment under that playlist of this person said, "This music sounds like secular music. This could cause people to backslide." So, which I mean, I guess how I'd respond to that is like, um, maybe some people, but I think for many others, they would not make them not want to listen to secular music because their Christian music sounds just as good. Just saying. So that was a little um taste of like there's some resistance. And then another genre that has gotten some hate is Christian heavy metal. Now, I don't really listen to Christian heavy metal. It's not personally my cup of tea, but I do follow some people who do, and apparently they get hate for listening to it. And then another thing that happened more recently, it's kind of about how Christian music sounds, is, and I didn't want to, I wasn't sure if I wanted this to be under Christian heavy metal because I don't know if this is, this band would be under that. But the band Skillet recently came out with their rendition of O Come Emmanuel. And some people, not sure how many people, but there was a good amount of people where they addressed it, called it demonic. And like, so I after hearing that, like I went and listened to the song, and I guess I can kind of see what they're getting at, but like seems to come down to like these, you thinking these certain sounds or these certain visuals are demonic when not inherently, and that seems to be kind of the pushback on Christian heavy metal. It's like it seems to be that like some people think that Christian music should not sound a certain way, and it's like, and with John Cooper, who is kind of the lead singer of Skillet, he said, like in response to controversy, like we're probably not gonna change people's minds, but the people who do think that, like, I do want to ask, like, where in the Bible does it say songs, hymns, and spiritual songs must sound like this, and they should not sound like this? Or is there any basis in Scripture that Christian music is not supposed to sound a certain way? And then another thing I noticed was that a lot of these like good Christian artists that I'm listening to are not that popular. I mean, the ones I was thinking of, like some of them are starting to get more popular, like Allison Aid is getting more popular. Sunday and Claudia Saki are doing pretty well. But some of the others are not doing as well. Like, I mean, I think Sarah Natalie's starting to do a bit more well, but at first she wasn't that popular, which, I mean, I don't think she's that bothered by because she literally has a song that says, I don't want to be famous. And I think Sarah Reeves is the most popular of we've talked about, and I would say she's like the least strong, well, and she sounds the most like mainstream Christian artists. And back to kind of Katie Nicole. So she had the first thing I heard, I thought when I was like hearing excerpts of these like songs that supposedly sound like Olivia Rodrigo, I was like, why are these songs not our most popular? And it's still, and it seems like those songs have gotten more attention, but still, it seems her most popular songs are still in Jesus' name and God is in this story. What's up with that? And I mean, I tried to look into this like a long time ago about like why all Christian music sounds the same and stuff. So I don't really know, but I'm wondering if it's like maybe because Christian artists wants to set themselves apart from secular artists or something. Maybe that's part of it, but I don't know. Now we're on to part of the video I've been hinting at throughout this video, and I literally thought through earlier today what I was going to say in this section, so I hope I don't mess this up. Of course, I can't make a video talking about Christian music without addressing the bad parts, the ugly side. So, of course, all the scandals that have happened. I mean, of course, I assume most people know about the Michael Tate situation, and that seems to be one of the cases of like it's as much of a scandal in Christian music as it would be in the secular music market with like SA and abuse of power. But what I really wanted to talk about was the kind of scandals that are unique to Christianity because in the secular music world this wouldn't be a problem. So the first kind of thing I wanted to talk about are Christian artists who have left the faith. So they once were a Christian artist and then they come out publicly saying, actually, I don't believe this stuff. So, and unfortunately, there are a lot of cases of this, but just a few examples of this are Jonathan Steingard from Hawk Nelson, Kevin Max from DC Talk, and tragically Audrey Assad. And Audrey Assad is like really gone off the rails. I mean, not only did she deconstruct, but she, I think, tweeted about doing mushrooms or something. But pray for the girl, because it seems like she's going through it. So there's that. But then there's also some scandals with what Christian artists say about LGBT stuff. So the first example that I wanted to talk about of this was the Lauren Daigle situation. And I know I did include one Lauren Daigle song in the Christian Pop Girly playlist, but it's a bop, okay? And the situation that I'm about to tell you, I think that was like 6 or 7 years ago, so maybe she's changed her ways, although there was that Instagram post of her reading the Passion Translation, but I don't know when that was. Anyways, so the situation was she was on this secular show. I've heard someone say it was the Ellen show, but I haven't seen that confirmed. But anyways, it was secular people she was talking to, and she was asked if homosexuality is a sin. And she didn't really answer. She kind of just said, "Oh, I don't know, because there's people I love who are homosexual, but I'm not God, so just look into it for yourself," was basically what she said. I'm guessing why she answered the way she did is because she didn't want to anger the secular people she was talking to by saying that, yes, it is a sin, but she also probably didn't want to anger her Christian fans by saying, no, it isn't a sin. But of course, when you try to appeal to everyone, you end up appealing to no one. Although, I don't know if I ever heard about secular people getting mad about what she said, but I know some Christians were upset about what she said. But of course, in the grand scope of this topic, that is one of the more milder of the LGBT scandals, because there have been some artists who have just straight up come out as affirming, like Amy Grant, Derek Webb, that guy from Jars of Clay. So, yeah, those are. And then, although I think there's less of this, there are some Christian artists who just come out as gay. And the main situation I want to talk about is Jennifer Knapp. Yeah, I don't think I'm not familiar with Jennifer Knapp's music. I mean, I know my mom has used it for like dance things, so I'm thinking maybe if I heard a song from her, I might recognize it and just not know that it was her. So yeah, she put out Christian music, and apparently, according to my mom, it was like biblically solid, biblically strong music. But then she came out as gay and claimed that she had been in a lesbian relationship the whole time. Okay, maybe not the whole time. I don't know how long her career lasts, but she had how long her career lasted before she came out. But she said she'd been in a lesbian relationship for 8 years. And as Dizzy Disciple pointed out in his video on Christian music, with her being in that relationship for 8 years, there was probably someone on her team that knew but didn't want to say anything because their paycheck was on the line. So, yeah, there's that. And not only did she come out, she also tried to say that parts of the Bible were mistranslated and all. I guess, I don't know what else she said, but like, we don't have time to get into that kind of argument. So, the question stands, is like those who left Christianity or like gone LGBT, the question is, do we still listen to those artists? And before you say no, keep in mind that, again, as Dizzy Disciple pointed out in his video, there are hymns that we still sing in church whose writers later turned out to be heretics. I mean, maybe it's not widely known that they turned out to be heretics, so maybe if it was more widely known, we wouldn't sing those songs as much. So, yeah, keep that in mind. And I'm not really sure what to think about this, because part of me is like, well, less so when it comes to Christian artists who've left the faith, but more so with the LGBT stuff. I'm like, well, isn't not listening to Christian artists because of wrongthink when it comes to this issue just Christian cancel culture? But then another part of me is like, well, do I really want to support those who I know are promoting that stuff. So I guess the thing that I've come to about this is like, if the song is biblically based and like true and all that stuff, then I think we can redeem it by listening to it to the glory of God. I mean, I don't know if that what I just said applies to the one Lord and Bagel song I use, but sorry. And I think so. I think maybe we can listen to those songs, but I think we should be more careful in promoting those songs and those artists, or like when we do promote it, we should just warn like, hey, they've got these issues. Which is why I put that disclaimer on my Christian Pop Girly playlist and why I'm making this video, to clarify who I'm talking about. So I'm not really like, I try to not focus on too much of what the artists have done outside of their music. I try to just focus on the lyrics that I'm listening to. But there have been some issues that have come up with that as well. So, first, Katie Nicole, as I mentioned earlier. So I was listening to some of her songs, and then I saw it come up in my feed that she came out with a new song, or at least came out with the music video on YouTube, and I saw it come up, and the song was called "Learning How to Love Myself." Okay, I don't want to go off on too much of a tangent, but I feel like I should explain myself. Okay, so I know the self-love thing is a big thing in the culture, and a lot of particularly Christian women are promoting it, but I just don't think it's that biblical. Yeah, it might seem biblical because, again, a lot of Christian women are promoting it, and some people seem to think that the love your neighbor as yourself is a command to love yourself. But if you think about it, it doesn't really make sense as a command. The way it's structured, it seems more like a given. And I mean, I don't know if we have any time to what was really meant by. Okay, I guess we will. So it's the self love is a given. And what is meant by that is we are naturally going after our own interests, and we are naturally seeking after what we want. So I guess what that command is saying is that we should do that for others, which now I bet we all feel short of loving our neighbor. So yeah, there's that. And also, if you still think that self-love is biblical, what do you think of this verse? 2 Timothy 3, verse 1 to 5. But understand this, that in the last days there will come times of difficulty, for people will be lovers of self, lovers of money, proud, arrogant, abusive, disobedient to their parents, ungrateful, unholy, heartless, unappeasable, slanderous, without self control, brutal, not loving good, treacherous, reckless, swollen with conceit, lovers of pleasure rather than lovers of God, having the appearance of godliness but denying its power. Avoid such people. So how can self-love be biblical if it said as one of the bad things that people will be in the last days, then that we should avoid? Although I think I found my answer because I looked that verse up, and apparently not all translations translated as lovers of self. Some of them translate as lovers of only themselves, and I don't really know Greek, so I don't know which word is right, but yeah. So yeah, the self love thing. I think I mentioned a few videos, like that's kind of that's a trigger for me. Um, so there's that, and then Allison Aid has also kind of talked about that in her songs as well. So I guess the Christian Olivia Rodrigo's are. And also with Allison Aid, I saw this interview that she did where she, of course, mentioned the first time that she was in the self love thing. She has a song called "Love Who I Am," which I was little, and she kind of mentioned that in the interview. And she was like, she kind of just mentioned it, and it's kind of like we've gotten to the point where it's like Christian women don't even feel the need to explain themselves when they bring up this stuff. But another thing that Allison talked about, she's talking about one of her other songs, and she was talking about, oh, people are reaching out to God, but the Holy Spirit is inside of us, which is true. But the way she was talking, she made it sound like everyone has the Holy Spirit inside of them, even if they're not Christians, which, no, that's not how that works. So yeah, because of that, I'm not sure what to think of having her on the Christian Pop Girly playlist. So yeah, I don't really know. She might be taken off in the future. Then who else in the Christian? And I guess another artist that I guess kind of talked about it, Hannah Barr, which we haven't talked about yet. I included um some songs by her, and I was on the lookout for more songs, and I listened to this one album, and nearly every song on the album talked about self-love except the one that I chose to add to the playlist. So I guess you were into that as well. And then I guess with that in mind, like, what about the artists that I've talked about already? For most of them, I'd say like I just don't know what is going on, what they've. I don't really know. I mean, I think from what I've heard, they're fine, but it's just like have they said something that I don't know about? So yeah, and although I will, I mean, I think I mean, again, like I said, down here isn't a part of the current Christian landscape, but will they be in it when they come back? Um, who knows? And I guess on some of the songs I have already talked about, we're gonna transition into talking about songs and artists that are more biblically solid. I was impressed by the lyrics of "More of You" by CJ, because again, I mean, part of that song is talking about more of you, God, and less of me. And then another song that I thought the lyrics were solid, "Don't Look at Me" by Stacey Orico. Like, hey, I'm not perfect. Look to God. That was okay. Yeah, I don't know how to end this section. So, I thought I'd take the time to talk about what I think are biblically solid artists and songs. Now, I can't promise that these will always be solid, but they are at least for now. So, the first artist that I want to talk about, really want to do a video about, because it's a crime that this artist is not more popular. That would be Nick Betsing. So, yeah, that he's a hip hop artist, although some of his songs don't sound as hip hoppy, like Dismayed, Psalm 6 from the first track on his Crimson Rivulets album. That's, I don't know what genre, but it's kind of more calming, like, I don't know music. And another song from that same album, Sanctified. Again, I don't know what genre we call it. I'd say is good for a tap number, spoken like a dancer. And then another song that isn't as hip hoppy, but I guess again spoken as a dancer, more suited for a jazz dance. Love Me So, I think is what it's called. Yeah, there's that, and there of course plenty of other songs. Like there's Work Gets Done, that's more recent. So yeah, just go check out Nick's stuff. Give him some love and all that things. And then the first three artists that I was thinking of when coming up with this list are all hip hop artists, which like I like hip hop music, but I always feel like I can't choreograph to it. So the other artist that I thought of was Shy Lin. He's seems very more like really dives deep into very theologically rich songs, is what it seems to be. I mean, he even calls it. He talks about like lyrical theology. So yeah, there's a lot of good songs there. One of the ones I can think of, Cosmic Powers, um, All My Mind. And then there's one that he came out with, like I think of like a week ago or so, Old Rugged. That one's pretty good. There's one, hold on, I might have to find what this song is called. But again, it's also about the cross. It's called The Cross, 3 Hours. Also pretty good. Then I wasn't sure because I haven't listened to a lot of the songs, but there's been a few songs from this artist that seem to be solid. Flame, again another hip hop artist. I think the solid songs that I was thinking of. Oh, I think it's called Believe or I Believe, where it talks about how life begins at conception, marriage is between a man and a woman. I'm not exactly sure when that song came out, but those are those are controversial statements now. So, and I guess they were still somewhat resistant to it back then. And another one, this is a more obscure one. Yeah, it's called Sola Scriptura, which of course, I'm all of that. I'm talking about biblically solid. And then another song, I think from that same album, although I think this one's more popular, Context, talking about studying the scriptures. We love to see it. So yeah, there's that. So there was a time where I didn't really like a lot of Christian female artists because it seemed to me like most of them were either wishy-washy self-love or charismatic, which there's nothing wrong with charismatic, but it's not personally my vibe. So, and I say that because to my surprise, the rest of the artists and songs I talk about are all female artists. So the first one that I don't know if I can confirm is biblically solid, but gives more of that vibe. Sandra McCracken. I first heard about her through a song that we sung, "We Will Feast in the House of Zion." That's pretty good. And I think I figured out what makes her seem more biblically solid and more, yeah, whatever, is that the songs, um, they aren't they aren't very me centered. They're more like God centered. So yeah, it's very interesting music. Like she has this song called "Till He Comes Again," which surprisingly is about communion. So there's that. There's also, what are some other good ones? Trinity Song. What else? And Steadfast. That's also pretty good. Yeah. And then Elisa Childers is making music again. I think she's kind of been known in like discerning and like all these things or whatever. Yeah, she's got some good songs. I think Strong Tower was the first one I heard, and it kind of, to me, it sounded like musically kind of almost like a hymn. And then there's all like her other songs. And then another, I'm kind of Lister as an artist, although I think there's two songs that I think are solid, and that is Teniel Netta, and I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that right. So the first song that I ever heard from her was Wisdom of the Cross, which talks about the wisdom of the cross, foolish to the lost. So, yeah, it's amazing how biblically solid you can be by just quoting scripture. So, yeah, there's that song. And then another song that when I first heard it through like hearing all the lyrics, I was just like, yes, yes, yes. And that is What Is My Hope? That's another good one. And then one that I thought I heard something off with it the first time I listened to it, but then listening to it again, I don't know what I heard that was wrong. Efficacious, which is talking about, so I looked at what efficacious it means to produce the desired effect. So it's saying, may God's love produce the desired effect, which kind of draws on the biblical idea of God's kindness is meant to lead you to repentance. So that's good. This last thing, I have just one song to talk about, and that is "I'm Not My God" by Holly Hollowell. Uh, in a world of female Christian artists talking about self love, it is refreshing to have a song like "I'm Not My God." And sometimes listening to the lyrics, I almost wonder if like she was inspired somewhat by like Ally Beth Stuckey, who I think was kind of first known for criticizing the self love in Christian women's circles. Because there's a lyric that says, "If the problem is me, then I can't be the answer." That seems to be inspired by something that Allie's said, which is the self can't be both the problem and the solution. Yeah, so the "I'm Not My God" is basically kind of about like the idea that we can't save ourselves because we're not God. And then it even turns out, because Ellie Bestecky's book is called "You're Not Enough and That's Okay," and then there's a line that says in the song, thank God I'm not my God. So it's a good thing that we're not meant to save ourselves. So, and by the way, with Ali Stuckey, I'm not really the biggest fan of her now. I haven't listened to her podcast in who knows how long. So, and I wouldn't say that she doesn't have like she probably. I think I don't know. I think she might have some issues, but um, yeah, the self love thing it was a pretty good start of a shift. I don't know how much it impacted Christian women's culture. But anyways, that's too much of a tangent. And oh look, the video's over now. So yeah, uh, I'll say right now, I'm trying to remember. So I'm gonna link a few things. I'm gonna link my Christian pop girly playlist. I'm gonna link the Christian R&B playlist that I first listened to, and I'm also gonna link Dizzy Disciples video on Christian music because I referenced it a few times here. So that is all. Goodbye.